Grace Young, our 2022 recipient of the Julia Child Award, may not have set out to become a national advocate for America's Chinatowns, but from an early age, she knew that she wanted to cook.
I grew up in San Francisco, where my parents impressed upon me their love of good food just as they had learned it in China. I had a fine appreciation for every aspect of cooking, from shopping to preparation to the rituals of eating. As a little girl, I discovered Julia Child on TV, and that changed my life. The French Chef was my favorite show. I was drawn to Julia's fun-loving personality and watching her prepare what were to me exotic dishes. She changed the way I thought about food, and I want to grow up to be just like her. When I was in my teens, Julia came to San Francisco for a book signing, and I begged my father to take me. Julia and Paul signed my battered paperback copy of the French Chef cookbook. From the moment I discovered Julia, she ignited my love of cooking. By high school, I'd been studying French cooking with Josephine Araldo, a local teacher, for several years. In my senior year, I began working with Stevie Bass, a recipe developer and food stylist who became my mentor. I'm certain without Julia's influence, I would not have had a food career.
Grace's teenage drive and determination led her to an internship in the Dole Test Kitchen. She went on to UC Berkeley, and after graduating, Grace followed her bliss to New York City, where she landed a job in cookbook publishing. After 17 years spent producing more than 40 books, Grace had a nagging feeling that something was missing.
I didn't give my Chinese background much thought until I had spent years working as the test kitchen director for Time Life cookbooks. When I realized I'd taken my Cantonese culinary heritage for granted, I went back to San Francisco to cook with my elderly parents.
Grace's return home led her to writing 3 multi-award-winning books, beginning with The Wisdom of the Chinese Kitchen. More than a cookbook, it was Grace's tribute to her family's culinary legacy.
After The Wisdom of the Chinese Kitchen was published, I attended a Lunar New Year banquet where I was seated next to Julia. At the end of the dinner, Julia said, "We must stay in touch." And she pulled out her checkbook and handed me a deposit slip with her contact info. Julia was in attendance when The Wisdom of the Chinese Kitchen won at IACP. It was beyond thrilling to celebrate the moment with her.
The breath of a wok and stir-frying to the sky's edge followed. As a prolific food writer and cooking teacher, Grace's goal has been to demystify Chinese cooking. The New York Times dubbed her the stir-fry guru, but she self-identifies as a wok therapist. Why? She realized that too many Chinese Americans no longer used a wok, and that most Americans were intimidated by the very idea of seasoning a wok. One of her missions has been to empower them all to discover the genius of traditional wok cooking. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, Grace shifted her focus to protecting and preserving Chinatowns and AAPI mom-and-pop businesses in the face of the economic hardships caused by the pandemic. Dubbed the accidental voice for Chinatown by Grub Street in 2021, she's become a powerful advocate for the entire AAPI community.
What else is lost when a business like that disappears?
So it's not just about the wonderful food, it's about our memories. And so many people talk about the fact that they've been going to Lung Moon ever since they were a child. And I believe when you lose a place like Lung Moon, you lose a part of yourself.
But in the 4 decades she's lived in New York, Young says she had come to take this historic Lower Manhattan neighborhood for granted.
Because of my work, I would be in Chinatown once or twice a week, shopping for groceries, eating food, but I never introduced myself. I came and went and did my own thing.
That all changed in early 2020 with the pandemic.
Because of misinformation and xenophobia, people stopped coming to Chinatown.
Young started sharing the struggles of mom-and-pop businesses on Instagram and Facebook and helped create 2 social media campaigns, #SaveChineseRestaurants and #LoveAAPI. She launched a video project with a Korean-American videographer, Dan On, for the New York Museum Poster House, telling the stories of Chinatown shop and restaurant owners.
Through all of these efforts, Grace has helped raise tens of thousands of dollars to support low-income, food insecure, and at-risk seniors in New York City's Chinatown. She's chosen to share the $50,000 Julia Child Award grant among 5 Chinatowns across the country to support legacy restaurants and feed those in need. In this moment of continued recovery, it is hard to think of a more deserving recipient of the 2022 Julia Child Award than Grace Young.
I feel that we have to do everything in our power to save and protect Chinatown. Everyone has to do our part, and history will thank us for that.